In this particular lecture, we're going to talk about chronic viral hepatitis. Chronic viral hepatitis represents liver disorders of varying causes and severity. When you say chronic, that only means that the virus has been there causing inflammation and necrosis continually for at least 6 months. Hepatitis A and E, both are enterically transmitted, are considered self-limited and do not cause chronic hepatitis. Only B, C, D hepatitis are capable of being chronic. In this particular slide, chronic hepatitis B is a function of age. That means most Filipinos acquire the infection at birth. It is clinically silent and around 90% chance of going into chronic infection. As a doctor, you may see patients at your clinic presenting with laboratory results, meaning patient is HBs antigen reactive, and they will tell you, I did not have any discoloration, I did not have any tickled urine up until when I was about to work. Then they find out that I am HBs antigen reactive. This is a typical history of patients presenting with chronic infection that they don't know about. It just so happened that they harbor the virus into their liver without causing any acute infection or acute elevation of the liver enzyme. If your patient is a young adult and immunocompetent at that, it is typically associated with clinically apparent acute hepatitis. That means a patient did not acquire hepatitis B at birth, but rather he or she acquired it during young adulthood. And the risk of chronicity is only 1% as compared to the 90% chronicity of those patients who acquired it at birth. Whatever the cause, the prognosis is based on the histopathologic features. This is of prognostic importance, meaning if you have mild hepatitis, you have 97% chance of surviving in 5 years' time. The moderate to severe hepatitis will have 86%, and those with necrosis and cirrhosis will have 55% survival rate in 5 years' time. What does this mean? Means that you have to, at least as a doctor, try to halt the progression of the damage to the liver. You have to have a good grasp of how hepatitis B is transmitted, how it can be prevented, and also how it can be treated or controlled. It is more important to consider HBV replication than histology, meaning the level of HBV DNA correlates with the level of liver injury and the risk of progression, possibly to hepatocellular carcinoma. If you have a replicative phase, that means the presence of HBe or the envelope antigen and presence of HBV DNA in 10 to the 5th and 10 to the 6th virions per ml. Presence in the liver of detectable antigen or HPC. You will have positivity in anti-HBC, and it is considered to be of high infectivity. If you're going to meet this question in the examination, E is short for infectivity, and positive HBE, that means patient is almost always highly infective, and there is a concomitant liver injury happening. If you will be presented with a patient with negative E, almost always there will be the appearance of anti-HBe or the antibody to E antigen. And consequently, the viral DNA will be less than 10 to the 5th and to the 6th. That is approximately 10 to the 3 virions per ml. And core antigen is already absent, meaning you will have anti-HBC as opposed to negative anti-HBC sometimes in the replicative phase. The infectivity is limited and the liver injury is minimal. So, therefore, replicative phase tends to have more severe chronic hepatitis than non-replicative phase. We can label the patient as inactive carrier if you have non-replicative phase, that is HBe negative and anti-HBe positive or reactive. HBV replication is the most important risk factor to progression to cirrhosis and hepatocellular carcinoma, both in HBe reactive and HBe non-reactive or negative patients. Regardless of the status of your E antigen, this goes to show that if you have elevated HBV, that means 10 to the 5th or to the 6th virions per ml, then you have an increased risk of developing cirrhosis and hepatocellular carcinoma. The clinical manifestation would be from asymptomatic, as we have mentioned, people or patients will come to you with HBs antigen positivity without, I repeat, without any symptoms at all, to debilitating disease with end stage or what we call hepatic failure. Fatigue may be the only complaint, and it is fairly common among patients with hepatitis B infection. And exacerbations may occur spontaneously, often coinciding with evidence of virologic reactivation. Meaning, if you have a patient who has been diagnosed with acute hepatitis B, then the patient improves, several insults will come into the patient in his lifetime, probably exposure to drugs, exposure to chemicals, or even another infection by another hepatitis virus. This will occur, or rather, this will push the patients into reactivation. How do you know? You have to have transferases determination. You have your ALT and your AST. AST tends to exceed ALT in patients with cirrhosis. Regularly, ALT is more elevated than AST. But as we have mentioned, AST will exceed, or rather will overtake the value of ALT when the patient has cirrhosis by ultrasound. The level of alkaline phosphatase tend to be normal or slightly elevated. You have to keep in mind that all forms of chronic hepatitis B can be progressive, and HCC is the highest for those who continue to have high level of HBB replication. Therefore, the goal in the management of the treatment of chronic hepatitis B would be the level of virus suppression. So, the viral replication should be suppressed in order for the treatment to be successful. In the course of the treatment, interferon was used, started with long-acting and then to pegylated interferon, and then later on, the nucleoside analogs. The very first was lamivudine, followed by adefovir, entecavir, telbibudin, tenofovir, emtricitabine, which is an improvement in the molecular structure of the lamivudine. Tenofovir and emtricitabine can be taken in combination. In the treatment, also, interferon had been successful as an antiviral approach, but with the increase of interferon non-responders, the newer oral nucleosides are now being used as first-line treatment. We based our treatment into several societies that study hepatitis B. According to AASLD and EASL, if you have an inactive hepatitis B, that means negative E antigen, then negative or positive E and HBB DNA and ALT are low, then you will have an inactive form of hepatitis B. If there is already cirrhosis that has set in, then you have to treat your patient with antiviral medications continually. And as the slide shows here, pegylated interferon, entecavir, and tenofovir are considered the first-line treatment. Here is a tabular representation of how to go about the treatment. You have your oral route and you have your subcutaneous injection. The duration can be from 48 to 52 weeks to more than 48 weeks, especially those who are on oral antiviral. Then you have to take into consideration also the positivity, or rather the loss of the HBs antigen, which is in a year's time, interferon has only 3 to 4 HBs AG loss as compared to oral, which has 0 to 3% loss. That means if you are aiming for HBs AG loss in 1 to more than a year, of continuous treatment, pegylated interferon will give you a more positive outlook in the treatment of hepatitis B. While in chronic hepatitis C, it is postulated that chronic hepatitis C follows an acute phase. You will see patients who are jaundiced, wherein you have elevation of transaminases, and 50 to 70% of cases, regardless of the epidemiologic mode of acquisition, meaning it can be blood transfusion or hypodermic needles of patients who are IV drug users, it has came to the attention that 50 to 70% will follow chronicity. Chronic infection is common even if the transferases will be back to normal level after acute bouts. And progression to cirrhosis will be about 20 to 25% following an infection in 20 years. So meaning to say, if you acquire your hepatitis C while you're in your 20s and you continue to drink, you're a IV drug user, then the risk of progression and even to hepatocellular carcinoma will come in your fourth decade of life. And the best prognostic indicator is liver histology. You have to have a liver biopsy. If you find necrosis and inflammation, if it is mild, then you have an excellent prognosis. If it is severe, moderate to severe, then you have progression to cirrhosis in 10 to 20 years' time. And also, the laboratory features of chronic hepatitis C are similar to those of the B. The aminotransferase levels tend to fluctuate, more especially in patients with long-standing disease. So therefore, if we're going to treat, it is almost always a combination of long-acting or pegylated interferon and in combination with ribavirin. This will enhance the sustained viral this will increase the responsiveness if you have a combination of pegylated interferon and ribavirin to more than 55%. There are guidelines available in the society like AASLD or EASL, and you will find almost the same suggestion that interferon sparing regimens can be used nowadays, like sofosbuvir, declataxtivir, cimeprevir, and can be paired with ribavirin, or it can be used as sole agent in treatment of hepatitis C. So with that, so you have to have a good grasp of the blood-borne hepatitis. That means hepatitis B and C, they go to chronicity unlike hepatitis A and E. Hepatitis D or the Delta only infects patients with an ongoing hepatitis B. So with that, I hope you have at least a grasp of the things to note with regard to chronic hepatitis. And thank you for your kind attention.